You ever wonder why some symbols seem like they follow us everywhere? Hidden in plain sight, like whispers or truth we're not supposed to know. But what if those harmless symbols are actually ancient knowledge? Codes that reveal universal laws that we've been trained to ignore. So, if the truth has been there all along about life, transformation, and hidden power, why are we never taught to understand it? Therefore, maybe the question isn't what the symbol represents, but why you were kept in the dark about it. Welcome to Truth versus Authority. I'm Roderick Martin, aka the Symbolizer, TV personality, UFO investigator, award-winning podcast host, backed by 21,000 truth seekers streaming right here on YouTube and reaching thousands of podcast listeners across 126 countries worldwide. Thank you for all the love and support. I'll keep bringing the truth. Get ready, because what you're about to hear, you may not believe it. Let's talk about the triple goddess. Yes, that symbol that you've probably seen on jewelry or maybe even in movies. 3 moons, waxing, full, and waning. It looks mystical, maybe even peaceful. But here's where we're told it means a simple representation of life stages: Maiden, Mother, and Crone. Youth, maturity, wisdom. Innocent enough, right? Except this harmless symbol have roots far deeper than any mention. It isn't just a pretty emblem or quaint relic from an ancient myth. It's a key, one that unlocks a view into life cycles, but in the way that deliberately obscured. Why? Because this symbol, this goddess archetype, teaches something that contradicts our entire worldview. That life doesn't fit neatly into a linear timeline. It's cyclical, repetitive, inevitable. But hold on, if that's true, if life progression is meant to be seen as a cycle with birth, growth, decay, and rebirth, then why do our systems, our education, our religions, even governments push the idea that life is a one-way street? Why would they erase a truth that's fundamental, that's engraved in ancient symbols, buried in our oldest story? Maybe, just maybe, it's because understanding these cycles gives power. And that's not something authority wants in our hand. Let's look how the authorities have consistently ignored or diluted symbolism of the triple goddess. This isn't just some ancient relic. It's actively used in modern practices, showing up in neopagan and spiritual communities as potent representations of nature's law. And yet, mainstream cultures brushes it off like it's some new age fluff or just hippie symbols or some harmless jewelry. But that's the first clue, isn't it? And if this symbol holds no real power, why go through so much lengths to trivialize it? Symbols like the triple goddess was systematically dismissed by academia and the media. They labeled it all as pseudo-history, even though records and goddess worship stretch back to humanity's earliest civilization. They ignore how this symbol, the Trinity of Maiden, Mother, Crone, aligns with universal laws that we see everywhere in nature: growth, peak, and decay. No one questions that seasons change, that cycles repeat, and that the energy transforms. Yet the core message of the symbol is silence. When spiritual movements try to reintroduce these ideas that connect directly to nature's cycles and personal power, the response was predictable. Mainstream authorities immediately labeled them as cults or occultists or friends. Books were censored, practices was condemned, laws were even put in place to silence those voices, all because they dared to revive a symbol that teaches people to see beyond linear, one-dimensional view of life that we're all fed. Why such a dismissal? Why so much resistance to something that supposedly holds no value? Maybe they know if people grasp the true meaning of these cycles, if they saw that life, death, and rebirth are inevitable patterns that not to be feared or controlled, the systems they rely on keeping us afraid would begin to crumble. Now let's dig deeper. Who actually benefits from suppressing the meaning behind the triple goddess? Why go through such lengths to erase its wisdom to observe the very cycles they represent? Well, let's start with the obvious players: religious institutions, governments, even corporations. They all thrive on control, and control thrives on predictability. But the triple goddess, she represents change, evolution, rebirth, principles that shake that foundation. Look how organized religion has portrayed life as linear, one-way path to death, with salvation only at the end if you follow the rules. Sound familiar? They've rewritten the journey, replacing cycles with a straight, narrow line that leads people away from questioning or embracing natural laws. By severing the connection to political power, they keep us tethered to fears of endings and decay of mystery. But why? Because they keep us reliant on their version of the truth. If we truly understood the power of cycles, we'll see ending as the beginning, loss as transformation. That undermines their entire doctrine. Then there's government and policy. Have you ever noticed youth and productivity are worshiped while old age is shoved aside and reduced to irrelevant? They glorify the mating and mother stages, youth and productivity things that they can exploit. But the Crone, she represents introspection, wisdom, the inevitable decline of authority's grip. Aging is treated like a disease because a society that honors its elders doesn't cling to fear. But in a world that they design, we're terrified of aging or being unproductive. Fear keeps us striving, spending, and obeying. And corporations, they even take it even further, selling us endless products to prevent aging, to capture the illusion of youth forever. They bank on our rejection of natural cycles, pushing endless consumptions. If we honored the Crone, if we respected the natural phase of decline, would we even really be desperate to buy our way back into youth? This endless consumption keeps us hooked in an illusion, detached from the natural laws of deeper wisdom. Together, these forces, religion, government, corporate power, they work in a tandem. They dismiss these symbols like the triple goddess as a pagan nonsense and downplay her truth. They profit from keeping us afraid of the very cycles that should empower us. But imagine if people recognize life stages for what they truly are, inevitable beauty and powerful in their own right. If we saw the mating, mother, and Crone not as phases to fear or to bypass, but as stages to embrace, their entire narrative will crumble. But here's the real twist. Those in powers don't even need to suppress knowledge anymore. They made us do it for them. They planted the idea of exploring symbols and ancient wisdom as weird, even dangerous. Society itself has become the gatekeeper, laughing off anything that questions the status quo, dismissing ancient knowledge as quirky fringe talk. They don't even need to hide the truth. It's right here. But we've been trained to guard it ourselves. Think about it. Every time someone explores the triple goddess or natural laws it represents, they're met with rolled eyes, or they're labeled as fringe, woo-woo, alternative. We've been conditioned to turn away from ancient knowledge, to distrust symbols that carry deeper truths. Society became its own watchdog, ensuring that we stay in line. They don't even need to censor anything because we are already trained to ignore it. So here we are, a world that celebrates ignorance and scoffs at the symbols holding ancient knowledge, buried beneath layers of ridicule and dismissal. The consequence? We're cut off from understanding life cycles, respecting the stages we're all meant to go through, from grasping the natural laws that should guide us. Look around, society is obsessed with eternal youth, endless productivity, and ruthless fear of aging or slowing down. We've created a culture where growth is everything, where any sign of decline is met with panic, and where wisdom and true wisdom is dismissed as irrelevant. How many people actually embrace their natural stages anymore? How many feel free to explore, to learn, to change without constant pressure to achieve or to produce? It's no coincidence that anxiety, burnout, dissatisfaction are so rampant. Now think how this affects you. We're told to be valued. We need to stay in growth mode, forever chasing youth, productivity, internal success. But aging introspection, and rest, they're sidelined, they're even mocked. They keep us consumed, striving, and fearing the very transformations that holds freedom. Imagine if we embrace life stages, no endless chase, no illusions. The system around us will weaken, and they know it. Imagine if we reclaimed this knowledge. If we allowed ourselves to see life not as a linear race, but a series of powerful, necessary transformations. We'll be free from the endless demands, and that's what they fear the most. They've controlled us by denying us the wisdom that's embedded in the triple goddess. And until we reclaim it, they'll continue to thrive, while we stay lost in a life that they're crafted to keep us chasing forever, one step behind the truth. So what happens when people start seeing through this illusion? When the truth of these cycles, the empowerment is embedded into the triple goddess, begin to spread. Those in power scramble. They reinforce the stereotypes, doubling down on their messages that reduce the wisdom to quirky or some myth or some nonsense. They'll feed the media machine to drown out the voices that say otherwise, push endless distractions to keep you locked in a one-dimensional existence. They can't afford for you to see the truth, because once you do, their power over you starts to erode. Once you recognize the cycles as part of your own life and growth, you start living on your terms, not theirs. You begin embracing all stages of growth, creativity, reflection, and that makes you unstoppable. It means that you're no longer shackled by fear and by society's expectations, or by the lies that they spin to keep you small. So here's what you do next. Don't let this end right here. Question what they've told you about life purposes. Look deeper into the symbols that they're brushed off as irrelevant. Reclaim the parts of you that they've trained you to fear, the depths, the transitions, the endings. Understand that each stage is sacred and that each transformation holds power, and that the real wisdom is from honoring every phase. Join this movement, not for me, not for just some trend, but because more of us who awaken to the truth, the weaker their grip becomes. And this is about living fully without their constraints. This is about reclaiming the right to grow, to create, to reflect, and to transform in your own time. They wanted this knowledge buried, but not now. It's yours. I've always said your eyes are useless when your mind is blind. What would you do with it now that you know?